Hello, friends. I am Jonathan Pishner with Apex Counseling. Today, I wanted to address a really excellent question that somebody asked me because we're experiencing this virus situation, this pandemic right now. A lot of people are having to stay inside, they're having to self quarantine, and that's actually producing some difficulty for some people's mental health. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about ways that you can help with that. A very common phenomenon that people experience during the winter is something that for many decades has been called cabin fever, which is a very well-known issue. The longer you have to stay inside for winter, the more it starts to impact your mental health. You start feeling pent up. Some people start feeling trapped. People's energy gets all weird. And right now, actually, many people are having to self-quarantine right when winter is supposed to be ending. So functionally, we are getting an extension of our winter, and people are going to need to know some stuff to help themselves with this. So let's talk about what cabin fever really is, because that's not a legitimate mental health diagnosis. It's just a catch-all term to describe a phenomenon that we're familiar with and that we noticed over the course of time happens. So what this really is because of the nature of having to stay inside a lot, people's physical and mental energy gets a little pent up in the sense that, these are things that are constantly rejuvenated within us, and they need somewhere to go. Our energy needs somewhere to go. If we got physical energy, we need to expend it on something. When we have mental energy, we need to expend it on something. Basically, the term cabin fever is really just a way to capture that people's energy a lot of times doesn't have anywhere to go if you're cooped up inside all the time. So that's the actual problem. We have physical and mental energy that is in need of release. So if we characterize it that way, a lot of options now become available to us. So some of them are obvious. Expending physical energy through exercise. Unfortunately, all the gyms are closed right now because we got this whole virus situation happening. But if you look online, the number of people who are generating at-home workouts just for ways to expend their physical energy, if you're someone who that doesn't come naturally to, man, just get online. You'll be able to find all kinds of things people are doing in service of this. Now, one of the things I always want to point out to people anytime we talk about exercise, it does need to be something that you can enjoy doing. You can't hate it and expend your physical energy on it because that produces its own kind of negative effects. So it's got to be something you can kind of enjoy. Me personally, I was always a big fan of doing the P90X DVDs, but I know those are super extreme for some people. Getting on YouTube and finding a yoga flow to follow. There's all kinds of fitness influencers that can give you ideas. But physical exercise is one of the one-stop shops for this. But there's a lot of other ways you can expend physical energy as well. So this is a wonderful time to kind of reorganize the apartment or the house. This is a great time to work on that hands-on project that maybe you've been sitting on and not really doing. Now, the trouble with cabin fever is that strangely, we get all this pent-up physical energy, but it makes us feel tired. So starting for many people is often a barrier. And it's like you have to kind of push past this mental barrier to get started. But trust me when I say that most people's experience of cabin fever is that get started and then the project will actually start to flow, whatever you're doing, whether it's exercise or you're going to reorganize the house, whatever it is that you're doing. But the important part is you've got to expend physical energy. Because that's part of what the major issue is that you're experiencing. Second part is mental energy. We oftentimes, when we're stuck inside, go to just binging Netflix shows, binging on Hulu, just falling down the YouTube rabbit hole. This is not really expending mental energy. this is how you give your brain a break from expending it. So you've actually got to be a little selective in how you utilize your time. Now, if you're a student, this will be kind of taken care of for you because you'll have homework. Most schools are online right now, so that'll kind of be taken care of for you. But for those of us who aren't in school, we've got to structure our time a little more solidly and figure out what are those mental things or what are those things that can really help us expend our mental energy. So as a few things to like play around with and try. Different types of gaming. Right now, there's a lot of people who are kind of off work. This is a wonderful time to get with your friend and play an online game of chess. Or I think somebody was telling me about bridge the other day, playing online bridge. Reading. Some people don't like to read, but if you happen to like to read, this is a wonderful time to expend mental energy on that. Finding a new skill to learn. Kind of goes into the Handson Project I mentioned a few minutes ago. Instead of falling down the rabbit hole on YouTube of, what's the funny fail video, what's the skill you want to learn? Go find something to start learning and applying. These are great ways to expend your mental energy. Even just basic stuff. Crosswords, Sudoku, is it Sudoku? I can't remember how it's pronounced, but the number thing. That's basically a crossword with numbers. Those are perfectly viable examples. A lot of times people, they think too hard about, okay, I need some sort of elaborate solution for cabin fever. No, you need simple solutions. And the third part, which really plays into the pent up mental and physical energy, your environment actually matters. So on the days when it's a little nicer, like I'm looking outside now and it's rainy and it's miserable, it's ugly. But even now, if you got a covered porch and you got enough blankets to cover up with, sitting outside for 30 minutes, even though it's gray and dreary, it kind of opens up. So like we get the feeling of confinement if we stay in a small space for too long. So even if you got to bundle up, go outside on the porch for a little while if you've got a covered porch, if it's raining, or wait till the weather's nice, but get outside. And it's almost like your brain feels less confined if you give yourself some time in that environment. Getting some sunshine. You live in the place where you live. You know whether it's morning or evening or what time it is that the sunlight streams through the windows, and really like hits everything in the room. Spend some time absorbing a little sunlight. It's amazing how many people just need a little hit of vitamin D and suddenly things are a lot better for them. So, using the environment to impact you is totally legit. Matter of fact, even just reorganizing the space. If you leave a lot of clutter around, that impacts your psychology. Clean up the clutter a little bit so that since your eye's not seeing that, you don't get quite so much the feeling of mental chaos that's happening. Because just to fast forward, if you don't handle these things, we get these feelings of boredom and low energy, and we have a tendency to select ways of solving that aren't good. We create drama and conflict with our loved ones, or we, I don't know, this is when people with exes that they struggle to stay away from, that's when they'll reach out to exes that aren't good for them, or that's when they'll drink too much. Like we have a tendency, if we don't solve cabin fever positively, we'll drift towards solving it negatively. So really, spending a little time figuring out how to solve this for yourself would be intensely valuable, especially right now. We're all kind of cooped up. We're all trying to figure it out. Right now, all kinds of people are solving this problem together. So if you notice that you're experiencing this and you feel like it would be beneficial for you to solve this, none of the suggestions I made maybe would work for you, get online. Everybody's solving it right now. This is a wonderful time for you to start solving it as well, figuring out what specifically works for you. So thank you for hanging out with me for a few minutes today. Hopefully that was helpful to somebody out there. My name is Jonathan Pitchner with Apex Counseling, and I will see you guys next time.